a throwback location in Roselle Park, New Jersey. You familiar with Roselle Park, New Jersey,
Not, I
John?
mean, yes, but
It
maybe
is
I
so,
passed through there.
yeah, it is so old school.
It's not Roselle, right?
Roselle, no, it is Roselle
There's
Park.
Roselle Park and
There's
Roselle.
Rochelle Park, and there's Roselle.
Yeah,
This was
Roselle's where
Roselle.
all of the tomato gangsters live.
Oh, okay.
The old ones are in Lodi.
Yeah.
The newbie gangsters from about 30 years ago were in Roselle.
So Roselle Park, it was definitely a throwback. It was a deli, and I loved it because they had on the loudspeaker outside, as soon as you walk inside, music playing, which we're both big fans of music, and it was music from the 50s and early 60s. Yeah, like
Motown music?
not really Motown so much, just like that early rock, and really, I mean, some people might consider it corny now. Oh, I can't remember her name. Jeez. Come on, John. It was like 2 hours ago. You expect me to remember?
Rock from the late 60s?
Or late 50s.
Late 50s?
So it wasn't like rock around the clock, Bill Haley and the Comets. That was early 50s, right?
Well,
But it was kind of like
yeah.
corny. That where they used to play a Splish Splash,
That's
Kansas City.
Splish Splash is Bobby Darin.
All right.
Well, he was jazz.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, he was really a jazz singer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Had a great voice. Was he a Jersey guy?
Yeah.
No. And then like all like that genre of music, and it was just like so. I love
You know
that
what
old
Bobby
stuff.
Darin's real name was?
Gino Colucci or something.
I think it was Waldo Rosato.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I might have met a sister of his because this location I went to has been there for 45 years.
Wow.
It was like a scene out of The Sopranos.
This is in Roselle.
Roselle
I
Park.
said all of the
Yeah.
Globalist live there now.
Very blue collar, and which is my type of neighborhood. Very blue collar neighborhood store. You walk in, you got the old music playing, and the proprietor is the original owner, and she's a spry,
Let me guess, a spry 80.
85 years old. 85 years
That's
old.
a three-woman.
She's about, I love that. She's about 18 women in one. First of all, she's that typical old Italian where she was about maybe 2.5 to 3 feet tall. But yet when she stared at you, you're like, I did something wrong. Like, what's going on? What did I do? Are you okay? Do you need
Mustache?
something? No, I tell you what, at 80, she was pretty,
Yeah,
yeah.
together.
Pretty, very much. She still had all her faculties.
She owned the place?
Yeah, she was the owner.
What's the name of the joint? Plug it.
Her name of the D'Orio's Deli.
Nice.
D'Orio.
In Roselle.
Yes. Do you remember we had a D'Orio in
Gina do. Ooh,
what?
sorry. Yeah, she was a grammar school friend of mine.
Well, my friend dated her, and I think she broke my friend's heart because I asked him if they knew her, and he goes, "I think my father's brother's family was up that way." Because
Yeah.
this is one of those people like they didn't leave.
She's a social media friend of mine.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
So I think like these people like don't even leave that 4 block area like within the last 30 years,
Maybe.
But it was such an old school place. It felt so good to be there. I mean, it was just amazing, and everybody who walked in the door knew everybody, first name, last name. It was unbelievable.
Mentioning her, I could see her face in those class pictures.
Yeah.
3-4 rows.
Yeah.
We're all wearing the same shit. The
Oh,
girls,
yeah.
the girls have a red turtleneck with a jumper and striped long stockings with
Yeah.
little patent leather shoes.
Yeah.
But I had a second grade teacher. I'm going to say her name because I'm sure she's so far gone. She's probably already, a 15-year-old reincarnate.
Okay.
Mrs. Davies, God bless her. I loved Mrs. Davies, but Mrs. Davies used to get
Was she older or younger,
well,
John?
when you're in second grade
Yeah.
and somebody is 50,
Oh, yeah. So
they
she
look
was.
like they're 250.
Yeah.
And, she used to get so like flash fire, explosive, angry
Oh.
at second graders. And she had a big wooden desk in the front of the room, and she had all
Yeah.
sorts of shit on it, pencil holders, staplers, pencil sharpeners,
Yeah.
all of that crap, books piled up. And I would say maybe once a month she would scream out of nowhere and say, "I've had enough!" And she would get her hands on one end of the desk and sweep it and go, whoom!
No way.
Everything goes into the papers going up in the air,
Oh.
everything on the floor, paperweights, pencil sharpeners.
Oh, my
all of it. The only
God.
thing that didn't go was she had a pencil, one of these pencil
Yeah,
sharpeners
yeah.
that was screwed in.
Oh, you had to be, yeah.
It was screwed into the desk.
Wow.
And when she did that, everybody would be like,
Ooh. Like, did a kid cause it, or she just?
"Oh, yeah, of course." And then I remember when my sister had Mrs. Davies in
Yeah.
second grade, which was 2 years later,
Yeah.
she came home and burst into tears, crying. Mrs. Davies screamed and threw everything off her desk.
Still doing the same routine.
And I laughed in my sister's face, and my mother, smacked me. "Don't you laugh at you." I says, "I'm not laughing at my sister." I says, "That's what Mrs. Davies does."
Yeah, she's still doing it.
But
Wow.
my sister took it personally.
Yeah, like she offended her or something.
She used to get mad. And she used to pick, she liked me, but she would pick on me and say, "Mr. Computy!" Mr. I'd say, "What?" It's not my last name. I said,
What is your last
if you're
name?
looking for Mr. Computy, he's in the other class. Or there is no Mr. Computy.
That is too funny. That's hysterical. See, at my grammar school, St. Mary's of Nutley, New Jersey, I was fortunate enough, John, to go to the same Catholic grammar school for 9 years, K through 8.
K through 3 for 9 years.
Yeah, and the next 16 were the rest of the grades. No,
Same
still
school as
same.
the drummer. Sam the drummer.
It's just Sam the drummer, yeah.
And
Well, a lot of people apparently turned out pretty good, because when I see these old timers like Sam the drummer on Facebook, I mean, they're all very successful, and I'm like, wow, everybody that must have gave them a good springboard, a good education.
Yeah.
But we had nuns. Okay, so you might have had Mrs.
nuns.
You
mean you did not have a good education?
We had
none.
no. We had nuns, plural. Sister Joseph, Sister Anastasia. That it was so short.
The elusive Anastasia.
Anastasia, that if she was going to smack you, and they were smacking kids, please get on your knees, Mr. D'Angelo, and you get down, and it's whack, get up.
On your knee.
She was short, and she wasn't going to express use any physical effort.
Well,
To
at CCD, we had the nuns, and I can't remember this one particular nun. She was really a nice person, but she was as large as this table, and she had a girdle under her skirt, and whenever she walked, it would go zoom, 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 zoom.
yeah, she was
And
plastic.
so I asked my mother, I says, "Why does Sister Mary McDonald or whatever,
Yeah.
why does she make that sound?" She says, "It's her girdle. It's the material that
Underneath rubbing each other.
Yeah.
Wow, that's too funny. Yeah, so that Catholic school upbringing was a little different. And, and then we moved to Cedar Grove, where we moved next door
Right.
to you. And going to public school after everybody wearing the same clothes for 9 years, uniform, walking down the aisle in single file. You were not allowed to walk as a class anywhere unless you were single file against the wall. All right, and you had to make those sharp left, sharp right turns. You did anything wrong, you got cracked. And then when we went to high school, it was like a free-for-all. Public school, I mean, there were kids punching each other. I mean, smoking in the bathroom, fights. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Believe me, I quickly adapted.
In Cedar Grove, the Catholic school was 100 yards from our houses.
Yeah.
St. Catherine's
Yeah.
100 yards.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Maybe, all right, 150 yards,
Yeah.
right there. Yeah. And the kids that came out of St. Catherine's were some of the biggest ne'er-do-wells I could ever remember in my life.
Wow.
And I thought, well, how are these guys and gals doing this? Because we were all scared of there was the bishop, then there was the archbishop. The archbishop gave us communion.
Oh.
Oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I remember studying my ass off, and the teacher said, "If the Archbishop calls on you in front of everyone, you had better know the answer to the question." And I think there were 100 questions in a little pamphlet.
Ay.
And the very first question, I think, is, what is an angel?
Yeah.
But it had all the answers. But, communion, what were we, 6 years old?
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
it was
know,
young.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and 100 questions? I was scared shitless of this person, and I'll never forget, because that was the same era that the original Star Trek was on. And when he came walking in, and everybody turned, we were not supposed to turn around, but I turned around and looked all the way down the alley at St. Catherine's, and he was coming in, and the sun was at his back.
Yeah.
So he was just this large figure with a staff and the mitre cap on his head.
Sure.
And it reminded me of that episode of Star Trek. Do you remember? Hail, hail, fire and snow. Call the angel, we will go.
No.
Hail, hail. All these kids on this planet were stirring up some kind of evil entity
Yeah,
who
I didn't see
looked
that.
like the archangel, not the archangel, the archbishop.
Oh, okay.
And as it turns out, he was evil and leading them astray, and he had killed all their parents.
Oh, wow.
But I was so afraid of this guy, and he kind of reminded me of that guy.
Wow.
And then, of course, to just accentuate the splendor of the day, I forgot that the pair of pants I put on, because I didn't want to go, and my mother says, "Hurry up, we got to be there in 5 minutes. Get dressed." I was watching, something on TV, and I threw on my pants and my shirt and blah, blah, blah. I had to have a little jacket on over that, and I forgot that the pants that I chose were ripped. My ass was hanging out. It was ripped like this far, ripped all the way down. And where were we? In front of hundreds of parents? We were up at the kneeler
Yeah.
in front of those little marble gates, and so our asses were to the crowd. Right? I figured, oh God, we had our white.
When did
white
you realize
frocks.
it?
Well, when I was up there in front, I was mortified. My ass was sticking out, and here comes the Archbishop. He's surely going to ask me.
Oh, too
He
funny.
never asked me anything. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was praying.
He probably felt bad for you. Poor guy. He's got no slacks.
Right.
So not only we deal with nuns, but you talk about the Archbishop, we had priests because the rectory and church were right across the street from the school. So when we would go out on the playground at lunchtime or something, there was a couple priests that were downright mean. And they'd sit out there
Yeah.
and they'd be smoking their cigarettes, and they had their cars parked on the street. So, if you were a kid and you bumped into a car, "Hey, you sons of bitches." I'm like, did he just get off of that car or I'm going to come down? Threatening us.
hysterical.
I'm like, what happened to
Right.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit? The name of we're supposed to love one
Praise
another,
the
right?
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, between that and the nuns would steal your baseball cards. You know how you used to flip cards?
Of course.
These nuns would say, "Who's flipping?" And you'd go there, "Oh, come on, it's just going to be fun." You lost your baseball cards there? They took them. I'm like, what is she going to do with them? But, they were tough.
Wow.
It was very interesting to say the least. Very interesting to say the least. And very different. And, listen, John, what about public schools and charter schools now? There's a big push. Think of where education has gone from when we were kids to what they're teaching in schools now.
I'm laughing because I watched the Joe Rogan episode. It was from 2015
Okay.
with Jay Leno as the guest.
Oh, wow.
I forgot how funny Jay Leno is.
He's
Joe
quick.
Rogan is a master interviewer and podcaster, but I don't. There's nothing funny about.
I don't think Joe, he's too muscular to be funny.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
It doesn't seem funny
But
to
Jay
me.
Leno was so funny. They started talking about clubs, and in the old days, clubs that were run by mobsters. And Jay Leno says, "Yeah," he goes, "I was playing some club. I don't know if it was Jersey or somewhere else, or maybe it was Boston. It was Boston." He says, and I walk in. Yeah, Jay goes, "Yeah, I walk in, and one of the boys, with his nose pushed over to his opposite ear,
Oh,
says to
boy.
me, he says, "Hey, listen," he goes, "I like you. I know you're funny." He says, "But there's the Monsignors coming here tonight." He says, "I don't want any profanity. You understand?" He says, "Keep it clean. Get it?" And Jay's like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah."
It'll
So
be clean, sure.
he goes up there, and he starts doing his gig, and he kept it clean. But what happened was the mobster let out an explicative, right? And the priest looks at him and goes, "Eh." The next thing you know, the mobster has a fucking shit fit and starts screaming and yelling, "I'll kick the fucking shit out of you! Who the fuck do you think you are?"
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the whole place went silent. Yeah, and the priest was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So-
Funny.
I think the point of the story was some of those guys were complete psychopathic. He actually said they were psychopathic killers. He goes, if you ever doubted if those guys
Mobsters or priests?
would
It's a joke. That was a joke.
both.
Yeah.
That's why they were so close.
Yeah.
Right? They were probably cousins.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, to do any kind of harm another individual on the daily, I mean, you have to mentally be at a certain
You
place.
got to be here, twisted to begin with, and
Yeah.
in service to yourself, not others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because that's one way to go down. And but I guess if you're going to excel at what you do, I mean, you want to do it right,
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely.
whatever your career may be. You know
Ah, the old days, Phil. You know what? I was just watching
what?
one of my favorite YouTubers, Gerald Celente, the publisher of the Trends Journal.
Very thanks to you. I just found out
We
about
didn't
him.
do a countdown, but that's okay.
Come on,
It's all right.
countdowns, yes,
Yeah,
no,
we're in on it now. And I love how Gerald Celente, he's very eloquent. This is not his first rodeo. He's probably early 70s, but he looks terrific. He's eloquent. He's a genteel man, except for when the topic just seems to, stick up his ass, and he will explode and start F-bombing those fuck faces
Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere. Yeah, it's like he's, he forgot to take his lithium and his meds and whatnot. But he's hysterical, but he's spot on. And the Trends Journal is all about current events and the economy and, money issues and political issues. He's terrific. And he reminded me, because he went down memory lane, about not just us in Nutley or Cedar Grove or Bloomfield, where I came before I went to Cedar Grove, but all across the United States and probably Canada too. And for all I know, maybe Australia. In any given town, there were stretches of storefronts with mom and pop retailers,
Up and down.
and it was wonderful. It was beautiful, and they almost always lived amongst the community. They didn't travel an hour a day to put the keys in the door and open up, and then they treated the patrons like crap. No, they were friends and relatives of the people from town, and whether that was the dry cleaners or the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the hardware store people. I have to tell you that I was in my 20s when I realized, wait a minute, why did Cedar Grove Hardware close down? One of my favorite places to go to when I was a kid with my dad on a Saturday, because you usually had some kind of, to me, fun project, building something, right? We went to Neal Brothers Hardware, right on Route 23. It was down right on the corner of the entrance to the old A&P, where Cedar Grove Liquors was. It was Neal Brothers Hardware, and we knew everybody in that store. Going there it was fun. It was an event. What else was going on in life back then? Not much. And then years later, they sold out to, I guess, Nick Falco, and it was Falco's Hardware, and then it became, I think, Cedar Grove Hardware. No, Cedar Grove Hardware was up the street. Cedar Grove Hardware became that hockey store. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
up the street, but a
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
further south. And Yeah,
There's-
why did the place close down?
Wow.
You know, and it really upset me. Then the bakery closed down. Then all of a sudden I hear that, you know, the pizza parlor closed down. I, it really, really disturbed me. And then it was, everybody's going to Home Depot. Everybody's, you know, and then it turned out that, you know, the big box food distributors like Costco and BJ's, I can't remember, I think they came out in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you know, what we used to say was they are never going to have food as good as what we get locally or homemade. Guess what? Guess what? You know something? I can't remember the brand. I won't say the brand, but they sell tube socks, underwear for men and women and everybody in between. And they sell stuffed salmon and roasted chickens. And it's pretty damn good shit. It really is. And I have to admit, I broke my dictum about not eating any food from Costco because it's all GMO shit that looks like it should be on a Broadway play stage set. It probably lasts 6 months and it's big and bright and beautiful. It's just too big to be real, you know. But part of what I realized was that my father was right. My father told me from the time I was 10, there's a force in this world that's looking to destroy the family and destroy the United States of America. He says, keep on a lookout for it and don't fall for it. And he said to me, and this is going to ruffle the feathers of some people, he said, it's coming at the young kids through sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He was right.
100%.
I'm not saying that, you know, all rock and rollers are, you know, subversive, but even the Beatles have been co-opted by the Illuminati because they've took their shots with this, all of it from way, way back when.
Well, let's look, John. Let's go back. You go to any town, any bigger town, there is no more mom and pop stores like you said. So you have all franchises now.
Yeah.
Even the food industry is all franchises, right? You go down and it's Smash Burger, so you don't have a hamburger place. It's Uno Pizza or Pizza Uno or whatever. What's that?
Right.
Fired Coal? What's that guy?
Coal Fire Pizza.
Coal Fire Pizza, whoever that is, that's a franchise. And they just line our highways and our new strip malls, you know, and they look great. But, you know, then you have not only Home Depot, you have Restaurant Depot for restaurants. I remember a guy used to supply all the food places, a guy, Pat, in Fairfield, New Jersey, out of a warehouse. He had the pencil behind his ear, and he had his little pad, and he had, you know, if you owned a deli, right, and you need a ham. I got ham in the corner over there. It's $5.95 a pound. Yeah. And he ran that whole business.
A food warehouse.
Yeah. Restaurant Depot comes in, boom, he's gone. So this is what's happening now. Up and down the highway, you go to states down south, Virginia, well, not Virginia so much anymore, the Carolinas, and all those new strip malls, they all have franchises in there. There is nowhere from mom and pop. Right. So that's why I loved going into that location today in Roselle Park, because it was back to our time. It was back to the 60s, 70s, just like you said, where the same person has been there for 40-something years.
Yeah, now I don't know.
85 years old.
I don't know if Stevens Cash and Carry in Wallington, New Jersey is still around. But
that was a spot,
do you remember that place?
I remember Stevens, absolutely.
Yeah, my brother and I, when we were doing the Cedar Grove Pool, you know, food concession, that's where we sourced most of the big items like Simplot, French fried potatoes, and, you know, the cold cuts and big, you know, industrial cans of peppers. We used to make sausage and peppers on the grill and all of that stuff. And, you know, we would get one of those big, huge U-boats, they're called, on wheels, and go down the aisles, and boom, boom. All of a sudden, it's piled up this big, and it's, you know, $500 order, but you got a load of shit back then, and then you had to run back with it, at least for me, in a non-air conditioned vehicle.
Even like, remember in Nutley was Janet's Shop, which was a big dress place, mostly women's stuff, if not all.
Right by
close
Center and
Center, by the Dairy Queen. I mean, but now you have I'm trying Target.
Center and Franklin.
Yeah, in a block. Right. But now you have like Target, Marshalls,
Right.
like all these big stores that are nationwide, if not
Yeah.
worldwide, and it's just a
Right.
different world. There's nothing personal. You literally become just a
Now,
dollar.
now somebody could argue that they've gotten the big corporate conglomerates have gotten so good at designing and implementing these national chains that you really can't beat the product that they're selling. Like,
And they have everything.
like, you know, uh, where it became really, really, really obvious was when we would go to Pennsylvania for these weekend hockey tournaments, and all the parents were looking to go out to dinner after a Saturday or
Sure.
Friday night or Saturday night,
Absolutely.
freezing your ass off in the arena tournament thing. If you didn't have reservations from 2 days before, you were screwed. You were definitely pulling into a Wendy's or a Burger King or a McDonald's with 15 people, because it was the same cookie cut every 10 miles on the highway. It was Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yeah.
It was
Any highway, they're all the same. Friday,
Mag-
TGI
Mag-
Fridays.
Maggiano's, Longhorn Steakhouse. Other. You know damn well what I'm talking about.
100%.
And you just couldn't. It was a cookie cut roll right across the nation, east, west, north, and south, and the mom and pop people were screwed. And so it's kind of like the whole processed food industry. I was talking to somebody today by text because I shared the whole issue about glyphosate. People, if you don't know what glyphosate is, the party's over, gang. It's time for you to look up glyphosate. Glyphosate. Or if you can't remember that, you didn't write it down, Stephanie Seneff. Seneff, PhD. Look up Dr. Stephanie Seneff on YouTube. She has a whole series about how we are systematically being poisoned to death, and specifically with glyphosate, which is commonly known as Roundup. And I've had very intelligent mentors of mine kind of, horn in on my post. I've been railing against glyphosate for 10 to 12 years on social media, 12 years at least. And these very intelligent people would say, come on now, John, you're kind of sounding like, conspiracy theorist. I use glyphosate in my garden and around my house all the time, and everybody's fine. Oh, so now it's only been about 4 years that me and people like me have been completely vindicated. Glyphosate is no longer suspected of being dangerous. It's no longer suspected of causing cancer. Glyphosate, Roundup, causes cancer. And every spring at the local bullshit depot, there it is piled up on pallets, and now they have glyphosate 365, which means it doesn't get degraded in the soil. Do not use glyphosate. It is an amino acid glycine analog. It's an imposter puzzle piece to your body's mechanism. And when it gets incorporated into your mechanism, it fucks you up. It gives you cancer. And then you're fighting for your life. And 1 in 2 people have cancer today. When I was in medical school, when I graduated med school in 1990, a little bit older than the average bear because I went to dental school first, cancer was like 1 in 4. Now it's every other person. Thank you, polystyrene, which is styrofoam. Don't drink anything out of styrofoam, and don't use glyphosate. I know I went off on a tangent. We were talking about the old days, but
Yeah, that's all right.
but now it's everywhere. And the video that I was sharing, and I think I sent it to you too,
It's in my oatmeal, John?
Look, I knew it was in every
Come
plant,
on.
vegetable, fruit that we're growing and selling in the United States. It's banned in certain countries. Interestingly enough, Vladimir Putin, that scoundrel, banned glyphosate from Mother Russia. Good for you, Vladimir Putin. You're not having the bullshit that the West is killing people with. And I would say, hats off to, here you go. There you go. That's it. Right. So it's all over everything. 85% of the corn grown in the United States either has glyphosate doused onto it, like all the other fruits and veggies, or they've genetically modified the corn so that they can say, we don't put glyphosate on our corn. Why? Because they've spliced genes into the corn that creates its own glyphosate. I'll be damned, that's fucking evil. So apparently, oatmeal, the glyphosate is actually getting absorbed by the pay product, by the actual product itself, that is oatmeal. It's not the stems and the leaves and the husks. It's the actual stuff that ends up in that little cardboard canister.
Yeah, so
right?
innocent.
The stuff that you put the boiling water over or whatnot. It's not just in the plants, it's soaked into those little tiny oatmeal flat little discs. So this particular physician's point was oatmeal is heavily fraught with glyphosate.
Oh.
What are you doing? So is coffee. The coffee beans are full of it. So if you can believe labeling that, this is organic, that's organic, if you can believe it, okay, fine. If you've got the time and the patience to take samples without telling the lab, take it to a local toxicology lab and have them do an analysis, a mass spec. That's what we used to call it in college, mass spec, and say, test for this, this. And they'll put a little sample in this big, huge machine, and they'll tell you what toxins are in that sample. Could be your tap water. It could be something you bought at the store. It could be your raspberries, your strawberries, your blueberries. I'm just saying, I know I went off on a tangent, but this shit didn't happen when we were kids. And I also sent out a video the other day. I've long suspected it, long. Where the fuck has Lyme's disease come from? When we were kids, we were neighborhood dogs. We played in the woods. We played on people's grass. We rolled around in our shorts. Nobody ever had a tick on them. And all of a sudden, everybody's got ticks. And the ticks harbor a disease that screws you up. People die. They're chronically and neurologically impaired. You got to be on antibiotics for months and months. Some people for the rest of their lives. Well, it turns out that there's an island off of New York. Can't remember the name of the island. No, it's not Staten Island. Where apparently Nazi-esque biowarfare labs incepted and created Lyme's disease and infused them into ticks and apparently released them up and down the northeastern seaboard. And I believe the first cases of Lyme's disease were discovered and named in Lyme, Connecticut.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I heard too.
So a lot of this shit that we're lamenting over, I promise you it's intentional. Absolutely 100%. Do you think that the price of gasoline today is not intentional? It's intentional. Oh, we're getting late. Long in the tooth here.
Long in the game. So the quick synopsis is go organic. Pay almost double.
If you
go organic.
If you can believe it, and I'll just throw in one more little topic that is just, it's a gobsmacker. It's a gobsmacker. The globalists. The globalists have, of course, they control and coerce the elected officials or the stolen election officials, and they pass these bullshit rules and regs. But it never applies to the fucking globalists because they're all billionaires anyway. Do you think that I bet Klaus Schwab doesn't even drive a fucking car. No. No, his ass, his filthy, disgusting fucking Nazi ass is probably carted around, by some
Sure.
bulletproof, bomb-proof limousine with a security detail. He better have a security detail. But why
right.
were we talking about?
I don't know. You just said organic, and then you said, "Oh, one more thing."
Oh. Part of their plan, part of this New World Order plan, people, is to take, Klaus Schwab says it publicly, you will own nothing and be happy. Really? Guess what, Klausy baby? But where are they chipping away at very quickly under the guise of climate change being, they can't make up their minds. Either the greatest terroristic threat is either climate change or white conservative males, or both. Which is it, right? They are going to do away with fossil fuel driven powered vehicles by 2035. It's almost 2023. That's the blink of an eye away. Look at all the articles and the videos on YouTube about people here, there, and everywhere, mostly in California, with EVs, electric vehicles. And now the powers that be are saying, well, due to the the power shortages, we ask you not to charge your vehicles. Oh, here it comes. So the ultimate plan is to cull the population and kill 75% of the population, and then the people that are left will be scooting around in mass transit. What does that mean? You can't go anywhere you choose. You can't, because to get on the subway or the train, you're going to have to do a retinal scan or a facial recognition scan,
Or a palm, they say.
like in fucking China. They've locked those poor people, those poor bastards, up in those concrete high-rises with steel gates around the base of the building. And for them to get out and off the grounds of their literal prison, they've got to either do fingerprint, retinal scans, facial recognition, and now they're asking you your purpose. Passport, please. Your papers, please. Just like World War II all over again. Folks, the Nazis haven't gone away. They're in our face now. You better stop. Get your head out of the sand. Get your head out of your ass. Start becoming, there's a couple of caveats, and this is how we're going to alchemize this. 1, become aware. 2, after you become aware, practice avoidance, not avoidance of your responsibility, but avoidance of the pitfalls that come with this bullshit unelected New World Order. Understand that your politicians are not working for you, they're working for the New World Order. That's as simple as that. Pray, people, pray away this bullshit. Protect yourselves. You better have some source of heat at home. This is projected to be an extremely cold winter coming up. I'm not trying to frighten you. I'm just telling you that if you use my dictum to go to multiple, quote, internet truthers and then sift the sand for common denominators in what they're saying, it's supposed to be an extremely cold winter. There's going to be fuel shortages. Food shortages, we know, are on their way. Put 2 and 2 together, people. The globalists want you to really believe that 2 and 2 equals 5. It doesn't. So just like everything is ass backward and turned upside down, and the stars on the Republican logo, the elephant, are turned upside down. If you don't believe me, just look it up, right? People, be ready to defend your families. Yeah, be ready to defend and to sustain your families with an abundance of food and long-term drink, high water content foods. Go organic if you can. And pray, people, because the New World Order is satanic Luciferian. We win in the end, but don't get taken out of the game early, people. Don't get taken out of the game early. Amen, Phil. That's about it.
Great episode. A lot of fun and serious at the same time. A lot of information in that podcast, Johnny. Thank you for that. If you like what we're doing, please press follow, like.
Subscribe, people.
There it is.
Kick the New World Order in its junk, because it's it's there.
Yeah, it's the weak spot.
Kick them in the junk.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it just helps shed a little light. Share the truthers that you trust. If you're watching this, you should be trusting us. Hell, you think I'm kidding about this stuff? No, I've been around a long time. This isn't my first rodeo. So God bless. See you next time on the Jersey Alchemist.
Peace.